And then we got to do this podcast.
All right. You ready?
Might as well be.
Okay.
It was a dark and stormy night. The wind howled as crashes of thunder.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 328 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT. Joining me is Donna Grindle of Carden. Good morning, Carden.
It's a tuning fork. There you go. All right. Yeah.
What's happening with your bad self? Or as we say here, what you know good?
Yeah. What's no good? Not up to no good. There you go. I got things going on. I'm hosting a bourbon tasting this weekend for the Atlanta Bourbon Women Association branch. So, I get excited about those kind of things.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So visiting with some friends, bourbon tasting, and we're supposed to get a little chill in the air. So it's gonna be a nice weekend. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it reminds me of when you and I went to, I don't remember the name of the place, but we had a business meeting and there was a bar. So you and I walk into the bar and there's this wall of bourbon.
It's a wall of whiskey, not just bourbon.
Yeah. And so
great choices.
Yeah. And I, for the next, hour or so, I get a very deep class in bourbon and whiskey.
There you go.
It was fascinating because I'm like, it's brown water.
Yeah, it is.
You're like, telling me the history of these things, and this thing got put out on a boat somewhere for a year, and this one cost $1,800 a bottle, and this one was made. I mean, just all this information. And I'm like, wow, that's a woman who loves her bourbon and whiskey.
No, it's just that I'm a nerd. I can't help myself. And and I was going through trying to decide what was there that I could try. Yeah,
and I'm like, that bottle's cool. Get that one.
You did say that.
That's got a horsey on it. Get the one with the horsey on it.
That was it. Mm-hmm.
That's how I pick my liquor.
There you go. You start with a simple old-fashioned if you trust the bartender to make one properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you select a whiskey to try. So that's just the way it works.
Yeah. So a few years ago, Donna and I are at a conference, and she goes, "What kind of beer do you like?" And I was like, Corona? She goes, "No, what kind of beer do you like?" I'm like, Corona? No, what kind of beer? I'm like, I don't know what you're asking me. And then she goes into all these different types of beer
style
and everything. And I'm like, I don't know. Corona. She's like, okay, try Blue Moon. You must like Belgian white wheat or something like that. I don't know what it was, she said. And then anyway, I tried it. I'm like, yeah, I like this. This is what I like. She goes, okay, so if anybody else asks you, you like Belgian wheat beer. Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying what I like.
Would you still stick to a Blue Moon?
I know, Blue Moon.
I can't get you outside of Blue Moon. Anyway.
You got me in Blue Moon.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I do know that I know your wife likes rum. When I took her to mojitos for Cuban food, and
she does not recall that night.
So just so you know, I can get nerdy about the food as well as, the drink, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, it was helpful because I did go to dinner at some point after the beer discussion, and somebody was like, "What kind of beer would you like?" And I'm like, "Blue Moon." And the guy's like, "No, we only have craft beer." And I'm like, "Do you have a Belgian wheat?" And they're like, "You have White Zombie." I'm like, "Sweet, I'll take it."
Hey, that is a good one.
I know.
That's
So
a Carolina one.
It helped me out.
There you go. See, should have offered you that, the snobber. Anyway. So this is our Halloween episode.
Mm-hmm.
So every year we have done something a little different. And in this one, we're going to tell a true story.
Yeah. It's a bit scary. At least it was for us.
A true, scary story. True, scary story. And it is our way of trying to scare everybody else. It seemed like a good time to do it. But before we do, we got some announcements, though.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of throw it out there for those of you who want to know, Donna's organization, her company, and mine were actively targeted and attacked. So we'll get into that story.
Yes.
But yeah, we do have some announcements we want to make. So for the exciting, fun stuff.
Where's your drum roll button?
I don't have it loaded.
We just went through trying to make one.
I know. I don't have it. Sorry.
Okay.
But the next HIPAA boot camp is, we got a date for it. Now, we are going to tell you the date, but it is a save the date announcement. You cannot yet register. So don't send me an email like, I can't get in. I can't register.
It won't let you register. We ain't nobody got time to do that just yet.
Yeah,
but we do know the date.
Yeah, just email me your credit card info.
Yeah.
I'll get
and we will not forget this date because it's a great date.
Yep. You ready?
Yep. 2/22/22. Because I always screw up the date. It starts on 2/22/22.
I was waiting for you to say 2/2/22, and I was like, you're wrong.
I know. You knew I had to pause.
Yep.
So
2/22/22, February 22nd.
That will be a virtual boot camp. We're going to mix it up starting in 2022. Almost said 2/22. So we're going to mix it up. So we're going to do February virtual on 2/22/22. And we are planning a September in-person event.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You didn't say boot camp. So what did you mean?
Maybe a bigger and better boot camp.
Oh.
An event in person.
Like something like a, I don't know, symposium?
I know. I just go look up the real word. What the Greeks, that's a Greek word. Go look up the definition. I want to call everything a symposium, not because it sounds interesting and snobby, but because I love the definition from the Greeks. Anyway, it could be something like that. An event held in a location.
With bourbon.
With bourbon. I'm going to finally get to do my bourbon and breeches event. That's what it is.
That's right.
I'm ready. I'm doing it. So what I don't know. I'm working on a plan. It's going to be great. It'll be
huge.
It's phenomenal. There's never been one ever in the history of the world that will be better than the bourbon and breeches event I am planning. It'll be worth showing up in person, whether you like brown water or not. just to see what I'm doing with this spectacular Bourbon and Breeches event. But
I know.
it's just a small part of what we're doing.
Yep. It is going to be a powwow,
And
which is a synonym for symposium.
it is a powwow. We don't know what we're going to call it yet. Symposium, powwow. Hey, what you doing? Let's come do this.
Yeah, just bring your goodies powders.
So, that being said, know that that's in September. We haven't nailed down a date yet, but the week of the 12th or the 19th, somewhere in there.
Do we want to announce the location, or do we not have that nailed down yet either?
Well, we're pretty sure we know where we're going to go, but we
Okay.
haven't nailed down the actual location.
Okay.
So, but it has bourbon involved. So, and it's in a central part of the country that's easy for most people to get to.
There you go.
We'll leave it at that.
Let the listeners email us. What do you think it's going to be? Given those clues, where do you think
Give
it's
us a
gonna be?
name. Give us a name.
Oh, we
for
do
our
need a
event.
name.
We need a name. So if you got a good idea for a name, that we're going to expand on the concept of the HIPAA Boot Camp in-person event. So if you've got a name for us, Double D's would love to have a name. One that will make us say, well, knock me down and steal my teeth.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Because we were going to come up with something like privacy and, I don't know, information symposium, but then that spells piss. And so we didn't like
Yeah, then there was another one that started with a T that didn't go well. And so anyway, we're working on it and open to any input.
Yep.
We'll send you a special gift if we select your item. How's that?
That's
if you
right.
send us one, we'll send you a special gift that
Send you
we
some
pick
brown
out.
water.
We pick out. All right. So,
All right.
and then,
But
Go
yeah,
ahead.
as if we are not busy enough, we do have something that actually you can go right now and take
Today.
part in. Yeah, it's there. So Don and I spent good part of 2020 and all of 2021 getting this done, but we have crossed over. It's kind of the whole, peanut butter and chocolate thing we talk about all the time. Things that just kind of got jammed together, but it's freaking amazing. So we've got the HIPAA for MSP side of things, like my membership group for MSPs, training them HIPAA and all that. And then Donna has created the Cardin Club because, Clubhouse.
that's right.
And they do some similar things. We're teaching people about HIPAA and building their compliancy programs and recognized security practices and all that. But we've kind of crossed them over a little bit.
Yeah.
So they're in some areas, they're actually interacting within the same membership
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting just some killer training from Cardin and Donna, having coaching calls. For my folks that are in HIPAA for MSPs, you cannot find anywhere else on the internet where you have MSPs as well as healthcare organizations in the same area there to help one another and learn about HIPAA. We also have, and we're working on this, it hasn't rolled out yet, but we are going to also have a third-party healthcare accreditation organization that we're working with that is going to allow our MSPs to go through our training, take an exam through them, and be accredited and given a certification through that source. We didn't create it; they did.
We don't manage it.
Right. So this will be the only HIPAA certification for MSPs that is third party and comes from a healthcare organization. So super excited about all that.
Mhm. Yep, we've got all kinds of things that are going to be available as soon as we finish building them. We spent a lot of time putting together how this would work and building the site. And it is for the Cardin Club side. It is designed as the one-stop place to get healthcare, privacy, and security information. If you need information and you don't find it there, you tell us and we will put it there. We've got the frequently asked questions, or wiki as we call it, reference library, manuals, guides, articles, links, downloads. It's all in there. We have a forum for discussions on different topics related to privacy and security, and the MSPs have their own, but you can cross over. And this is not about sales or anything. Sales are forbidden so that you can freely have conversations and not have to worry about any of this other kind of stuff. This is about learning and getting access to the information you need all in one place.
Yep.
And we know about all the freely available stuff, and we're putting it all in one place for you.
Yep. It's going to be amazing. Heck, it is amazing, but
Yeah.
we're building it out even more. So
you can sign up now. So you can go to cardinhq.com/club to learn more about it, or you can just shoot us an email, info@cardinhq.com, or just randomly start clicking on things on the website until you get to us. Because that's apparently what some people do. But it's fine. It only gives me something more humorous. And then the HIPAA for MSPs side, you have a really cool website. I don't have that yet.
Yep. So you can go to HIPAAforMSPs.com and learn more there. As a matter of fact, if you're a listener of the show, if you'll shoot me an email, I'll shoot you a discount code to use at checkout. So just shoot me an email, contact@helpmewithhipaa.com, and say, hey, David, hook me up, brother.
And just know that I will probably get the email first and make sure he sees it.
That's right.
So, lots going on. So the boot camps, the soon to be named special event in September, and the Cardin Club, along with the brand new, bigger and better HIPAA for MSPs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to do this podcast.
All right. You ready?
Might as well be.
Okay. It was a dark and stormy night. The wind howled as crashes of thunder.
There you go.
Yeah. So it wasn't a dark and stormy night, but it did begin at the beginning of September.
Yeah, it did.
When some things started going awry in both of our organizations. So do you want to talk about what happened to yours? And I'll throw in kind of what's going on with mine at the same time, because
simultaneously.
Yeah.
So sure, it seemed normalish, we'll say. That's a word it is right now anyway. At first, Monday morning, the team has a meeting. Sometimes I pop in and it makes them nervous. So most of the time I don't. But there was an email that went to Elizabeth and Krista from somebody named Brent, who was said they really liked the podcast and they wanted help with a very something situation, touchy situation, and the board wanted them to make sure that they got a NDA signed. So they were asking me about it, and Krista said it just didn't seem right. Elizabeth said, send us your NDA, send a reply, send us your NDA, and we'll look into it. But, I think, her answer was, you probably need to have a call so that we can understand before we'll commit to that. Something to those lines. But Elizabeth and Krista were powwowing about it. Because powwow. That it didn't seem right. Carla gets a look at it. It doesn't seem right. They mentioned it to me. I agree. It doesn't seem right. And Krista then noticed that they were BCC'd on it. And that made them feel even more squirrely about it. So then it was like a whole afternoon looking into this Brent, who sort of checked out, like online. He sort of checked out, but still couldn't tell. So we were waiting. And then other things started happening. I got a LinkedIn connection, notification that a message from my brother that looked odd. And as I was playing with it, because I was not paying attention during another meeting, confessing. And as I was playing with it, somebody did call on me, and I jumped and I clicked on it, and I'm like, crap. Because right away you see that it's bad. It didn't look right. It was asking me to log in. I'm like, this doesn't look right. So bailed. And then went with my meeting. Totally forgot about it until later when Carla said that she had gotten a message on LinkedIn that looked weird that she didn't respond to because it looked weird. And no, my brother had not sent us things. So right away, the team is looking into things and going on high alert. And weird things like this kept happening. So now everything was suspicious. And that's when you and I talked about it.
Yeah. Now, this went on, what you've just described was not all at the same day or same time, right?
It was like in the first few days. Like,
right.
First part of 2 or 3 days, it all happened over a period of time starting on Monday.
Yep. And so it's kind of the same thing for us. It was a several day period, but we also got an email from Brent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was the same name.
Yeah, we also did get one from Brent, and it went to, it was interesting because it went to one of our technicians, and it was basically, we're very interested in bringing in a new IT company and would like to know more about your services and if we're, a good fit for each other, and, how can we learn more? And it was weird because we have a process for things like this. So when somebody comes in from a sales campaign or something like that, then it goes through a specific email address. And in some cases, we have email addresses that are for different campaigns. So every campaign has its own email address, but ultimately they all dump into one place. And so for my technician to get a direct email about a prospect was very weird. And so that immediately sent up red flags. So I was thankful for the fact that we have processes that we follow for things, because when things aren't in a process and they go outside of the norm, all of a sudden it's like, huh. Yep. And then probably simultaneously, we received a phone call from Brent. And here's what we didn't know at the time, which was, our technicians and the person who answers the phone, our administrative person, they're not in communication directly all day long. And so it's not like they're sitting in the same room and hearing phone calls and stuff like that. So the admin person doesn't realize that the technician has received this email that's suspicious. And so now she's on the phone with Brent. Mm-hmm. And Brent's telling her the same story. I want to, do business with you and all that. But, we're a law firm and we, really need to get you under NDA before we can kind of tell you more about what we do. And, to her credit, she was like, okay, sure. Send the NDA. Here's my email address. And so when it came in, she was like, I ain't clicking on this. But she called me about it and she's like, what do you think about this? This kind of sounds weird. Like, why do we need to sign an NDA just to have a conversation at this level yet? It's just too weird. And so then they started digging into the name and who they said they were with. And a lot of this checked out, but we started noticing some differences. We started noticing that the email address was one slight letter off from the email in the signature. Mm-hmm. And then the address of the business was different. It was the same street address, different city on the email signature than what was than what was on their website. And so, you start going, wait a minute. Okay, there's 3 different things already that's weird. But it's also weird that you are targeted. Like most of the time you hear about phishing email or, it's kind of a spray and pray campaign. This was obviously a directed spear phishing social engineering attack. So it was very nerve-wracking for the entire team.
Yep. Same thing started happening. Everybody started trying to be more aware. And Elizabeth was upset that she had even replied to Brett in the email. And, everybody went on high alert, it was good to see that they went on high alert and weird things kept happening.
Now, let me ask you this. Did you at any point, because my team did this to me, but did you at any point have somebody go, is this our phishing campaign platform? Is that coming from this? I mean, because that's what, they were asking me, which was kind of funny because I don't manage our phishing platform. One of my guys does. And I'm like, don't ask me. I didn't do it. I don't manage that. And,
no, I did hear Carla calling Krista, who manages ours though, saying, are you running this? Did you do this?
Yeah.
And Krista's like, I have no idea. None.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is not something that she could build in our phishing campaign.
And our engineer that manages our phishing stuff, he said he's looking at everything that's coming in. He's like, not only did I not create this, but whoever's doing this is a professional. This is some really good stuff. Yeah. So that made me feel even better. Not.
No, right? Because now it's like, well, we're catching these. What are we missing?
Yeah.
And so you and I, we talk about everything. We're work spouses. And so we were comparing notes on some things like we often do about problems. And so this kept kind of going on, just, like it would go away and then all of a sudden it would come back. Mm-hmm. There was requests for social media connections that everybody started doubting. And I doubt them all the time because we get so many, you and I get so many that sales and all of that. And I don't make connections with people on LinkedIn just because they send a request. I evaluate them. And until I let it sit for a little bit and decide, mm-hmm. But the team, they're not like that. So now they're thinking everything is weird and they're on high alert. But at the same time, I'm wondering what they're missing.
Yeah, I discovered inadvertently during a team meeting a week or two later, we're having a conversation and one of my techs says, because one of my techs had put in his 2-week notice and he says, David, I don't mind having a meeting with you, but you asked to schedule the meeting after my end date. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your employee assessment meeting that you requested. I mean, my last day is on the 22nd and you asked to schedule on the 26th. I'm not even going to be an employee at that time. And I'm like, I did not ask you for a meeting. And he's like,
I love to have seen your face.
Yeah. And he's like, oh. And then one of my other people, she says, well, wait, I got one of those too.
Uh-oh.
And
no.
I'm like,
oh.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, then there's something going on here. And then she says, okay, what about the COVID-19 protocol that you asked me to put everybody's name and email addresses and cell phone numbers into the spreadsheet? Is that legit? Please tell me that's legit. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember when you called me, I thought we were both going to throw up over that one.
I said, so you mean to tell me that an email came in from somebody? And she goes, no, it came from you. I'm like, it did not come from me. I need to see the email because now I'm thinking, okay, great. My email account's been hacked, that would be a bad day. And so she sends me the email. Actually, she didn't send it to me. I logged in. I was like, I'm going to remote into your computer and share your screen with me. So she shared her screen with me and I look at it and it was my email address except the domain. Instead of being securityfirstit.com, it was securityfirstlt.com.
Ooh.
Very difficult to catch. Even had my email signature that I use in my email, which means that somewhere they they got an email from me. Maybe
or
I responded
or they
to something.
hacked somebody that you emailed.
Right. Or yeah, exactly. Somewhere they saw my email address, had my email signature, my picture, the links, the 405D logo, all that stuff that's in there. They took all of it and made it look exactly like the email was coming from me. And there was, the email to her was, I need you to fill this out. And she responded back to them and said, asked a question about it, and they responded back to her. So there's this whole chain of conversation happening. And it was just a link to a Google document. Now, it didn't ask for any credentials. So thank goodness she didn't have to log into anything. But it did ask for, list all the employees, their email addresses, and their cell phone numbers. Now, some of you listening might think that's not a big deal, but my people, we don't publish their email addresses and we don't publish their cell phone numbers. For me, you can find my email address and you can probably easily find my cell phone number. And I give it out to clients all the time because I don't mind people having it, but I also know because I've given it out that it could also be a vector of attack. And so I know that going in. My team does not know that. And it was not a vector of attack until she filled out this form. And so the good part was that in that company meeting, we were able to say, please understand, everybody, that your cell phone number has now become a vector of attack because it's in somebody else's hands, as well as your personal email address, because we communicate with clients usually through our ticketing system, not directly from, email inbox. So there's no reason why any client needs to know my technician's individual email address. So I was able to warn them, and good thing I did, because guess what? That very afternoon, everybody started getting smishing attacks.
Really?
Yes.
Well, see, now ours is a whole different world because it's not uncommon for us to need to sign an NDA to have a conversation so that people can explain what they need us to come do to determine whether or not we can go do that. And so that itself wasn't super scary. I'm used to seeing those, but we have rules about taking documents like out of the blue. We don't, unless we know somebody and expect a conversation with them about a document. Most of ours is done through file sharing app online where they upload the document and we check it out and then we deal with it accordingly, but not put it on our devices, not provide any information, no logins or anything. Each individual works in one spot. So that did keep us from downloading or having a conversation or clicking a link to go work with. There were two different things that were sent. One was a document or a link to a form to complete. And, at that point, Elizabeth was certain that people were after us and getting stressed out, which that's hard enough because she's the least technical of the crew. And so she knows she's a target. And with our group, we do have to communicate one-on-one. And there are times where our clients need our mobile numbers because of what we do. And we know that if someone we communicate with regularly, if their email account gets hacked, there's all kinds of information in there to contact us just because of the nature of what we do. So my fear is that one of our clients' email could somehow be involved because of the amount of information that was known. And that really got the team all worked up when the three of them all got emails from me. Same kind of concept as what your team got. They all got emails from me asking them to confirm whether or not this document with credit card information in it had been sent to our bookkeeper and confirmed with our bookkeeper and then mentioned her by name. And at that point, I was driving down to Florida when that one happened. And I'm getting, okay, this is, how would you know that name? How would you get that name?
Yeah.
That
so you're thinking somebody's in your inbox at that point.
I'm like, all right, are they in QuickBooks? Are they in, where are they to know the bookkeeper's name? That's the one that really stressed us out, because I'm just wrecking my brain. And so they call up our poor bookkeeper and they're like, you have to change every password. You have to do all that. And she was terrified. And, I'm still thinking, yeah, but how would they get that name? Because it's us that's clearly under attack, and not the bookkeeping company that assigns the individual to work with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then text messages about changing your Google password started coming in. That itself, that's a whole nother story about that. Google doesn't do that. And this is exactly why we don't recommend using the text message, SMS message version of two-factor authentication. So we absolutely hate using that, and we'll only use it if that's the only option that's available. So all of that was going on as well. And everybody's pretty much stressed out. Even telling like friends and family, Cardin's under attack.
Mm-hmm.
This was bad. And I'm just trying to go on vacation. So it was clear that it had something to do with the podcast, because you and I were checking.
Yeah.
And so I called you, and while we were driving, to get you to try to look into what was going on, since it was happening for both of us, so that I could go on vacation. And tell the team, David's looking into it. Let's take a breath and be very aware that we don't fall for anything, because Security First IT has it.
Yeah. I mean, my guys were checking people out and running, IP scans and reverse DNS lookups and digging through header information and emails. I mean, they were on the trail of this person.
Oh yeah. And Krista was just absolute. We have to run a dark web scan to see what's out there. Everybody was really hitting it hard, trying to figure out how the podcast, and we have always talked about, I always give you a hard time about mouthing off because I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure I got blamed for it.
Yeah. And
see,
well,
quit taunting the hacking groups all the time, taunting the hacking groups.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not taunting them. I'm just trying to get them to come on the podcast. Gan crab.
Oh God. Elizabeth, and the thing is that we've actually been brought in to consult with, or do a proposal to consult with, an application developer that's based in Russia and New York.
There you go.
Yeah. And so then Elizabeth's like, oh no, somebody in Russia's mad at us, or they're testing us, or, I had all this going on.
You're like, no, it's David. It's David's fault.
Yeah. We're going to blame David because he has mouthed off one time too many. And, we now have both of us under attack because he does not care what happens to us.
It's not true.
So David and I then decided, during my vacation, we set up a call with our friend William Price of CyberX, because, we just had him on. If you didn't listen to him tell his stories about this happening, you should go listen now. To discuss with him what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the discussion was quite fruitful, didn't you, David?
I thought it was very enlightening.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
So what did we learn from William?
We learned that since we had hired him to socially engineer our team, We learned the results of what we're now sharing with you on today's podcast. And yes, Donna and myself had our team attacked.
That's
see
right.
How they would do.
In honor of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and at one point, even during all of this, Carla even says at me, last year during Cybersecurity Awareness Month, you ran that secret phishing test on us. Are you doing that phishing thing again? And I'm like, yeah, I did do that last year, but this is more than a phishing test, isn't it?
Yeah. So
and she just let it go. She should know me better.
We had some folks that were like, oh, that's sneaky. And then we had other people that were like, that was not funny at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. One member of our team whose name starts with Carla started like really pitching a fit because she was going on vacation and I allowed this to happen. And I'm like, am I supposed to time it when it's convenient?
Yeah.
But others were like, well, damn.
Yeah, there was a sense of relief, but also a sense of, I can't believe you did that to us.
I know. It was just flat out anger and at the same time relief.
And the poor lady who put the information in the spreadsheet, like I thought she was going to resign and cry, and she was so disappointed that she fell for that.
Yeah.
But it was a fantastic training opportunity because then I could go back and go, okay, let's look at why this happened. First of all, understand this was a sophisticated, targeted attack.
Yes.
Okay. This is as bad as it gets, or as good as it gets for social engineering. Okay. So you didn't fall for anything that asked for credentials. And that's ultimately what they were trying to get to by building up rapport and all that. It never got to that.
No.
So we never got compromised. The only thing that got out there was information that was mostly public available anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it stopped, before damage could be done. But let's look at how we can improve that. How can we identify things that look squirrely earlier and not give out this kind of information?
Yeah, and that's basically, the message to my team is I was proud of them. Mm-hmm. They immediately started asking questions. Day one.
Yep.
They started asking questions. They started evaluating. They may have, fallen for it a little bit, or Elizabeth went so far as to schedule a meeting with me, Carla, and Brent to have a phone call about what Brent needed. And I planned other things that I couldn't put on my calendar.
Well, I don't know about you, but the hardest part was going through 2 or 3 weeks of all this happening and acting like I was extremely concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yet also knowing what was going on.
Yeah. Well, and to Williams, to his credit, he would not agree to do it unless he could attack us too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he tried.
Yeah. And
you and I were actually recording or starting to record one of our shows, and we got an email at the same time from one another.
And he thought he had timed it. Yeah. He thought he had timed it so that we would have just finished, and he made it look like it was from one to the other, and he just didn't time it well enough, but we knew right away. We're like,
yeah. He's like, well, I figured y'all be done by then. I'm like, you have no idea how long it takes to put this show together.
Well, and that's when I was trying to record from the hotel, and we had all these other problems going on, and you had people stressed out, and, so yeah. You never know when we're actually recording. We have a schedule, but it's variable. So
it's a suggested schedule.
So, but I have to say, I could not figure out how he got some of that information, and he had to tell us.
Yeah.
But no one was hacked. No one gave up credentials. And a lot of passwords got changed, which was great. and everybody eventually calmed down, and now they're able to better talk to our clients and say, look, this is what it feels like when you're targeted. Let me tell you what this feels like.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's so invaluable, because when it's really happening to you, that sense of dread and panic, and then you kind of understand, okay, wait a minute, even though we have these plans and these policies and procedures, when panic hits, it's like you forget about all that sometimes. And them being on the side of experiencing it gives them a better understanding of what clients are going through. It's kind of like when I was a police officer and they're like, we're going to spray you with pepper spray, just so you realize what it feels like when you go to spray somebody else.
That's what we need to tell them. We just sprayed you with digital pepper spray. And that's why we did it. And I love the fact that just telling them that you were looking into it was not enough. They wanted me to look into things more and continue to do it. And I loved it that you send me a note that Krista got fed up waiting on you to run that dark web scan and entered her own ticket to get one to run.
I know she went slap around me.
I know. She just skipped you.
I was like, no, look at her.
I know.
And she didn't even ask me about it. She didn't say like, have you done it yet?
No.
Or anything. She just was like, it's been a day. That's too long.
Yeah, I'm getting this now.
I'm going straight to the help desk.
I was thrilled with the way they responded as far as protecting us and evaluating things and going on high alert and all of those things. And I was not proud of how people kind of yelled at me a little bit. They got over it quickly when I reminded them that I'm the boss. I get to decide stuff.
Yeah.
But I really do appreciate, and it does make me see the importance of the work that William does when he does these kinds of attacks on companies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And we're always talking about, phishing campaigns and test your users and all this kind of stuff. But this is some next level stuff when you're starting to pay people to social engineer your team. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of good that came out of that for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of freaking out and a little bit of yelling, but in the end, everybody felt positive about the experience because they learned how it feels. They learned what to look for, and they knew that they were not wrong. We were under a targeted attack. Yeah.
Yeah, they were absolutely correct. They just didn't know that you the one that orchestrated it.
I know. And trying to be
Would you call that an insider threat?
Yeah. I loved it though. And I got the idea when we were interviewing William, and after we finished the podcast, and I said, what would you think about this? So
yeah,
it was quite an exercise, and our teams, they were terrified about what was happening in a protective sort of way, not in a sit in the corner and suck your thumb sort of way. It was making them mad.
Yeah.
And so I definitely was proud of how well they handled it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. They did good. But anyway, as I said, I highly recommend it. Whether you're going to hire somebody like Williams Company or another company, but shout out to my team too. They did an amazing job. We were able to stop the threat. We were able to learn more about how we need to do more of the, what would you call it? The whack-a-mole syndrome. Everybody, look, when you see something, you need to say something. Don't just think it's only you. Throw it out there for the entire team because it could be a coordinated effort. So learned a lot from that, but they did great. And some of our team, they knew kind of what was happening and they started playing with the guy. Because William's like, yeah, they responded to this email. I'm like, I know. They told me they were going into it. They're like, let's see how far this guy was willing to take it. Let's see if he can give us enough information where we can hang him. And so they were trying
to weed him out, weren't they?
Yeah, in some way they were kind of trying to figure out, can we attack him while he's attacking us. So I thought that was kind of funny.
And at the same time, every part of you wanted to say, get back to work. This is not
Yeah,
worth
I know.
it.
Don't spend a lot of time on this. What are you doing? It's exactly what's going through my head.
But we're both proud of our teams, and we really appreciate everything that William did working with us. So it was great.
Yep. All right. That is our show for today, folks. Have a spooky good day. Remember, for Donna and myself, HIPAA ain't scary. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.